Topic, and that is that's our video game topic of the night. And recently we've been seeing, especially at the last E3, you no longer see. And when I say you no longer see, you just don't see the high of volume of games that are exclusive to one system or another. Software developers are kind of getting wiser to it. It's like, hey, we want to sell our game to as many people as possible. Why would we restrict ourselves to one system or another? So you see a lot of games, for instance, like the Assassin's Creed games, both platforms. Call of Duty, both platforms. Lots and lots of games like that, like Destiny, even though it's made by Bungie, will be both platforms. Watch Dogs, a big game that just came out, both platforms. But what we're seeing is that exclusive like DLC content, or maybe just an additional like 60 minutes to a game like Watch Dogs is advertised. You have an extra bit added to just one system or another. Now, I'm not quite sure how that works. Do the big corporations pay them? Does Microsoft pay them? Say, hey, hold some of this back for us only. Or does PlayStation pay them to do that? And then you've also seen with a lot of games, especially Call of Duty, Skyrim was a big one, where Call of Duty, you always get the maps about a month before PlayStation gets them. In the example of Skyrim, you actually had them get DLC like a year before the PlayStation people did. So I don't know. Is this the new trend of the future? Is that how they're enticing gamers to pick one system or another? Is the DLC content?
I think it is probably part of the negotiation for the the licensing fee or something. Some of their contracts with between the big console makers and the groups. But we've seen this before, just not with DLC. Like we saw. You remember the old multi-platform games used to be sometimes really different between platforms. Some would have more content, some would just have different graphics because of limitations of one or the other system.
One of the best examples of that is the Aladdin games for the Super Nintendo and the Genesis. Couldn't have been.
Well, those were completely different. Those were even different
totally
developers.
Different. Yeah.
I was going to say too, the one that I always think of is Turtles in Time. For the Super Nintendo had a huge extra area, which I thought made it so much better than the Genesis one, and the graphics and the sound was a little different because of the system, but they had extra areas in the Super Nintendo one. Sunset Riders was very different, for instance, between those two.
That's true too.
And we've seen that. We've seen that later. The Tony Hawk games, when those first came out, those were always kind of sad because a lot of the Tony Hawk games on the N64 came out way later than on the PlayStation and were stripped down, even though they came out later.
Yeah.
But that's how it went.
That was part of the CD cartridge thing. But yeah, you do see that thing. Like one of my favorite examples of how much I'm not really a big fan of it because I had an Xbox 360 at the time. I'm a huge fan of the Arkham games. Arkham Asylum came out. I was right on board with that. And then I buy it for Xbox 360 just to come to find out that, hey, we give you this whole Joker campaign that you could have done if you had bought it for PS3. And it's like, really? I want to be Joker. Really?
Not only that, like we've even seen that people are a little surprised. When the Wii U came out, because it was actually the latest system and was powerful enough to finally handle a lot of the stuff that had been going between PS3 and Xbox 360, they got a bunch of those games, like Arkham City, like Assassin's Creed, and all the other a bunch of other games of that nature. And they had a whole bunch of exclusive content for the Wii U. I mean, that's where I got Dynasty Warrior or Warriors of Orochi 3 Hyper, and the Hyper Edition was essentially rolled in with a lot of the DLC that had come out for the others, plus like a few slight adjustments as well. So you've been seeing that kind of thing.
But it's just funny that like you still have the first-party platform games. You have like the Halo, that's still a Microsoft exclusive. You have the Uncharted's; those are still PlayStation exclusives. But I don't know. Is this? Or I guess that's not a first-party game. But I don't know if this is enough to really say to push gamers one way or another. I think if you're going to get one of those systems, you probably have already made up your mind. Like me, I've already made up my mind. I was an Xbox 360 owner. Now I'm going to be a PlayStation 4 owner whenever I get around to that. So I just don't know if it's enough of a push in the direction. I do like that we can get more games for both systems, but I just kind of feel shorted when it's like, okay, you can buy this game, but you'll never be able to download these couple of missions
Mm.
extra. It's like,
Yeah, and I mean some of the reason why we're seeing more crossover, at least quickly. I mean we've always seen multi-platform games, but it is I think easier now. There are a lot more engines that are designed to just allow public developers to make a game mostly once, make it for multiple systems, port it to multiple systems really easily. A little bit of tweaking, some extra testing needs to go into it, but a lot easier of a process than what has previously been seen, especially now too. This current generation, the systems are a lot closer together, I think, hardware-wise.
mm-hmm.
Um, the PS3 was a very strange hardware set that they thought was going to take off, and it was very powerful. It was great, but it was difficult for developers to use as opposed to 360, which was kind of like a PC that they were used to anyway. So there was a lot of differences there, but when you see with the PS4, it's kind of come back around to be an easier platform to develop for, closer to a PC architecture. The Xbox One, again, closer to that kind of architecture, so they're easier, I would think, to make it for both. So if you can do it, why not? You know?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, like, you see the Unreal Engine seems to power everything. So does the Frostbite engine. So you see these couple engines, and I think you're right. That makes it easier to port it back and forth, so that you don't have that problem. I don't know. I don't know if I'm more for it or more against it, because I do like having the ability to play all these games. I just don't like being feeling like I'm being cut off from a certain section of the game because I chose one system or another. I mean,
Again, I think that's been around forever, and all the strange thing is now that it's something extra that you buy,
which
and
is kind of messed up
when it's
too.
so easy for them to port between stuff, like it was one thing back when the different systems couldn't handle as much on one cartridge, for instance, or on the CDs, whatever they had. They had different setups. That was one thing that made sense. Now it's just, okay, why are you not selling it to me?
Yeah, and is this really going to help these software? I mean, not hardware developers, Sony and Microsoft, because by the time we all get both systems, and that usually happens like 3, 4, or 5 years down the road when they start popping up used. I mean, I'll do it. I'll probably get an Xbox One somewhere far down the road when I can pick it up at GameStop for $99, just in case there was a game or two or three or four that I missed that I wanted to play that was exclusive to that system. But I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to affect me wanting to buy a system or another. It might affect me wanting to buy a game for a certain system if I'm like, okay, well, I want to get this game, but there's going to be all this stuff that I can't play, so you know what, never mind, I'm going to skip it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're really into a particular series, like I know that there are some Call of Duty fans out there that would, if there's certain exclusives on one system that they see is better than the other, it might push them to get one system or another, right? Same thing, Assassin's Creed fans, if they see there's some exclusive content on here, and if they haven't already decided which system they want to get, it might push them one way or the other so they can get that exclusive content. But for most people that aren't so severe, I don't know. It's not convincing me to choose one or the other. I've kind of already made my decisions
Yeah,
on what systems to have. I mean, I have the Wii U now. I do want the PS4 in the future, and like you, Xbox One. We'll wait on that.
yeah,
We'll wait
exactly. I mean,
sometime.
so, but hey, let us know what you think. If this is going to sway you to buy one system or another, or if it just frustrates you and annoys you, or if you just think it's the way gaming is going now, hit us up at wordsformyface.com. Comments down below. At wordsformyface on Twitter, and did I say? I didn't say the Gmail. I didn't say the Gmail yet.